Hello, everyone. So good to have you back to Surviving to Thriving for Highly Sensitives. I'm your host, Tammy Goen, high sensitivity coach. And if you've joined me before, you know that I actually prefer the term highly sensing to highly sensitive just because of the connotations that word tends to have in our culture these days. But I do generally refer to it as highly sensitive because that's kind of what's known and talked about these days. But this show is for all things high sensitivity or highly sensing, for being able to manage all of the things that kind of tend to lead us toward a greater likelihood of overwhelm and, second judging ourselves, self-doubt, not feeling comfortable in our own skin. And that's really my focus, is trying to work with people to honor that place of you, that piece of you that is really, really sensitive, and learn that it's for a good reason and it can be used in good ways, and it's not something we need to change. So good to have you here. And this month we are wrapping up talking about energy and what in the world do we do with all this energy that we feel constantly, that we have, aware in our bodies, but also coming from the world around us. So we've talked about various ways of calming that, of working through that and releasing, protecting it. And then last week we had our lovely guest, Teresa, talking about music and movement and how to use that to allow our bodies to shift through our energy system, open things up, shift whatever it is that we're feeling that we're not liking at that time. So I'm feeling this way and my energy is in this place. I want to be different. I want to feel something else. And so we've been talking about those things. So today I want to talk about how to recharge, how to fill up our energy. But first of all, I would like to share my screen. Oh, everything just keeps changing in Zoom. All right. Where's my share screen? There it is. Okay. I just loved this quote. So here you are. Let me slide that over. Maybe. We are having some fun with technology today. Let me see if I can move this over. There we go. Okay. Nobody realizes that some people expend tremendous energy merely to be normal. Albert Camus, love that quote, mainly because if we think of it in terms of high sensitivity, which is normal for us, normal everyday life, it can take a lot of energy to get through our day with as much as we are pulling in at all times, and everything that's just such a challenge for us. So I just wanted to start that off because I came across that and thought that was amazing and wanted to share that with you. So going forward now that we know how to protect our energy, how to release what's not ours, what to do with the overflow, sometimes we feel a little bit low energy and we want to increase our energy. And sometimes we can do that, whether or not we're going to be around a bunch of people. I mean, that obviously fills up our energy bucket, sometimes a little bit too much, more than we want, sometimes in not the way that we want. So we can be really purposeful about filling up our energy in the right way. So that's what we're talking about today. So filling up our reserves, filling up that energy so that we're not feeling depleted and we're not tired or exhausted or just feeling no motivation whatsoever, because our tank is super low. So we want to increase that in a healthy way, in a way that resonates with us, rather than just putting ourselves out there. If you're an extrovert, you probably tend to just say, I'm going to go out and be around a bunch of people. And then you actually end up depleting that energy even more because it's so much and you've taken on so much more than you were planning. So being very mindful in having an intentional about that, how's that going to look? So one reminder, if you've listened to me talk before, you've heard me say this, is thinking about what is your total bandwidth for your entire day. And as you're planning things for the end of the day or the evening or the end of the week, you can look at it in terms of a full week as well. seeing what you think your bandwidth is at that particular point in the week or in the day, and remembering not to schedule things up to a full 100% or more, which is pretty common for us HSPs to like do overdo, because we can, but we don't have to. So it's good to not go above the 100%, but as we know, things happen throughout the day, throughout the week. And if we commit to 100% and then something else comes up, then we're way over. And if we don't have the reserves, which we're going to talk about how to fill those up, then that becomes, a real challenge. So being aware of what that limit is at maybe like 80, 85% of what 100% would be, and reserving that bit for anything that might happen that will come up that day or that week, at the end of the week. And sometimes it's easy to say, well, I'll just make it to the weekend and then I'll recoup and I'll be okay. But this is a cumulative thing, just like calming the nervous system is cumulative. We can meditate every day and it's not going to be this amazing benefit doing it just once. It's a cumulative effect. So the same thing with energy. We can say, okay, well, I just have to get through today, and then tomorrow I get, a day off, or I just have to get through the end of the week and then I can get, my rest. All of that accumulates and is not healthy, not helpful for us. So we really need to be aware day by day, hour by hour, if you can. I mean, if you can do your little check-in, how am I doing? What do I need? As often as you can, and regroup. Each time you realize, oh, you know what? I'm starting to tank a little. I need something to buoy me up, or I need a break, or whatever it is that will make you feel better in that moment. Being aware is the first step, so that you know what you need and you can do something about that. So if we've reserved that 80%, if something else comes up, we can probably manage that. Okay. We will talk in the future about boundaries and how to set those limits, even if we feel like we could do that extra 10 or 20%. But just being aware is really helpful. So that's one really important thing to be aware of. And then, as I have talked about before, sleep is super important. And there's different components about sleep. If we can get at least 7-8 hours, some of us need more, of good quality sleep, then we can start our day pretty fresh, hopefully really fresh, and really ready to manage things, because we've regrouped, we've rebuilt our reserves somewhat by just sleeping in a really, good, healthy way. And I struggle with this myself sometimes as well. I have a really good practice with making sure I have the hours that I need, in bed. Occasionally it's hard for me to fall asleep. Usually for me though, it's like waking up in the middle of the night, having a hard time going back to sleep. After a little while I do, but then I'll be awake, asleep, and then that makes me tired. So I have actually just recently done some hormone testing, and not surprising in terms of what I'm feeling, my cortisol levels, which are the let's go, and tend to be really amped when you're stressed. And I have all of these tools that keep me, calming my nervous system and not feeling stressed. But for some reason, my cortisol is tanked in the middle of the night. So it goes actually pretty good as we go throughout the day. And then it levels off, gets fairly low just before bedtime, which theoretically is a good thing. But then 2-3 in the morning, it spikes. So that's something that I'm working on right now, to do some, as natural as possible supplements and some different focal things to try to shift that, so that my sleep is more productive, more helpful, more healthy, while I am sleeping during that 8 hours that I do give myself. And I'm very good at saying, I've got to get to bed, even if I'm not really quite tired enough, because I know I need that amount of sleep. So whatever you're dealing with sleep, if it's you don't have enough time and you're sleeping maybe only 5 or 6 hours, looking at that and making sure that there's some way that you don't let that slide, and you say, yeah, I know it's important for everyone to have good sleep, but it's that much more important for highly sensing people, because of, being filters or being sponges and bringing all that stuff in without the filters. And we just, we're filling that input bucket. We really need to take care of ourselves, and sleep is super important. So whatever you need to do to make sure that happens is really going to benefit you in the short term, but also definitely in the long term. So there are many, many ways to increase our energy, and finding something that resonates for you is really important, overall, generically speaking. But then also in that moment or on that day, just checking in with yourself and seeing what actually resonates. If there's something that normally works for you, but today you have no interest in that, don't make yourself do that because you're like, well, I know this works. Just say, oh, today I need something different, and allow for that. So you're really doing what you need, and don't worry about what other people are doing. Oh, they find, everything's energizing for them if they do this, this, and this, and you just feel exhausted instead of replenished. That's not for you. So being able to really listen and honor what your needs are. So you can do things like meditation and breathing, which we'll do a little bit later, and imagery, that kind of stuff. You can do yoga. You can do some other tools, which I will also do in a couple of minutes here, like a body scan with a specific focus. Things that you already know that you've done that give you a boost. Sometimes we can do these things to be calming, but sometimes we can have a focus specific to increasing our energy. So I will do actually a couple exercises with you today. But being aware of those tools, okay, what are the things that actually make me, when I'm done with them, I feel energized? And maybe that is exercise, whatever that is for you, walking, running, maybe a little bit more involved yoga, something that is just really either feels energizing in that moment, or that by the time you're done, you're going to be like, oh, wow, I'm just ready for the day now. It's really boosted my energy. So sometimes we need to push ourselves into some of this kind of stuff. And we have to be, there's a fine line for us, especially HSPs, in pushing ourselves too much, but also staying too much in our comfort zone of holding back and not engaging. So, we have to find that line. So occasionally, like for me, there is nothing in the world that boosts my energy more than spending time in nature. And that said, and maybe it's, depending on how I slept that night or whatever else is going on, if my energy is particularly low that day, I can be really not really uninspired, but unmotivated to be heading out to nature. And it's easy for me to just say, oh, I got the day off. I could just stay in my jammies and work on my puzzle or whatever, and not really get out there, even though I know that if I get out there, I'm going to be so thankful. I'm going to enjoy it so much. And when I'm done, wow, my energy is just going to really be lit up. But sometimes it's hard to push myself. That's much more the case if I'm planning to go on my own. And I love my alone time in nature. But if I'm going with someone, that's easier because, we have this external motivation, like, oh, I've already made this agreement, I'm going to follow through with that. But sometimes that's just, it just requires that like extra little push to say, I need to do this. And for me, I can, visualize being, getting there, getting on the trail, walking with the sun on my face, feeling whatever the trail is, underneath my feet. If I'm walking through the snow, or if I'm on the grass and I'm going to get to the river and take my shoes off and touch the ground, I can visualize these things, and that will help me to get more motivated again to say, because I know that that's what I really want to do. And again, we still need to listen to ourselves. So if that day I am really feeling like I need replenishing in a different way, and I just choose to say, I need a quiet day, I'm going to just hang out in my jammies or in, my comfy clothes, whatever, and do my puzzle, have my tea, and choose that specifically, great. And I do that sometimes. But if it's a default kind of like, it's a distraction, like, well, I really want to go out, it'll be really good for me to go out, but I could just sit here and I'll do, so it can be a distraction. So sometimes we need to push ourselves through that a little bit. We have to be careful again to not push too much and really listen, am I avoiding this for some reason? Am I just needing a little bit of, push, and then following through with that? And then you'll have that experience, and you'll be so grateful once you get out there and you're like, oh yeah, I knew I just needed to get out here, and this is exactly what I need. And so glad I got myself out. And if you're not going to be heading out, to nature, or maybe you've only got like 5 minutes, but you're feeling low energy, sometimes it does help to just get up and move around. Last week we did the movement and music and kind of using that as therapy or whatever to get our energy moving. Sometimes just getting up and, doing some jumping jacks or jumping around the room, or doing some kind of ecstatic dance moves or something like that, or just, kind of shake your body or whatever. That can get things flowing, and you can get a little bit more, energy cycling through, and then get more motivated to do something, or just to feel more energized and better in that place of, if you're feeling that low energy, that can really help. Okay, so before I talk a little bit more, I want to take you through a little technique. I've done a body scan before in one of the earlier episodes. This is going to be a little bit different focus. So what you're going to do is, be aware of your body first, but then we're going to bring in all of this, supercharging energy. So if you have the opportunity right now, go ahead and just kind of get some more comfortable. Close your eyes if you're good with that. You can kind of stare off, whatever's good. Take some nice, deep, relaxing breaths. Just let your body settle in. And then just scanning from the top of the head, down through your head, your shoulders, your torso, your legs to the feet. Just scan through. Notice wherever you might have some tenseness, density, stuckness, heaviness, anything that where your energy just feels a bit off. You just wish it felt lighter. It just really feels constricted. Just notice, and you don't have to do anything with it at this moment. You're just paying attention. Just notice what you feel. If there's anything that like, oh, it doesn't really feel all that great. Okay, I'm aware of that. Just noticing. And now imagine whatever color for you, choose a color right now that is super energizing. Maybe it's this vibrant yellow or orange or gold, bright white, whatever that is for you right now, that's super energizing color. And now imagine that in the top of your head, through the crown, from the cosmos comes down this beam of that colored light, that bright yellow or gold or white, whatever that is, down into from the cosmos down to the top of your head and then through your body. And as it goes through your body, it's kind of like molasses. It's just like a really thick liquid, but it's this bright energy light. And as it goes through, it coats everything inside your body as it goes down. So just be aware of your whole body filling up with this amazing energy, this light substance, like a liquid, just penetrating through your body, and then see that going into all of your cells throughout your whole body. And even visualize like a few of those little cells in there somewhere doing like a little happy dance. They're like, wow, just so energized now, and see them kind of jumping around and not frenetic in any way, but just like happy and energetic and excited. Just see all of that stuff in your body getting excited, all of those cells throughout your whole body, and just feel that sense of excitement and energized experience. Just feel that, see all of that bright color liquid that you allowed to flow into your body, just filling every little space, seeing all those little cells dancing around, feeling happy. And just notice how that feels now compared to how it felt before when you were feeling that stuckness or heaviness. How does that body feel now that you have this amazing, vibrant, energized energy liquid coursing through your body? And maybe after you've done that, feel free. You might want to just get up and move around a little bit, because maybe that just really energized you and you're like, oh, yeah, okay, now I have more in my bucket, right? I've replenished a lot more of my energy just by pulling that in from the universe. And you can do the same thing if you really connect with the earth and bring the earth energy up into your body and feel that raise your vibration, raise your energy level. But whatever works for you, you can use that technique. So go ahead and come back if you are still enjoying that beautiful place. Open your eyes and kind of be back in the room again. So that's just one of many tools to fill up your energy. And you can do it, of course, even at work, if you just if you need to go into the bathroom and close the stall for, 5 minutes or something, you can do that for just a couple minutes, or sitting at your desk, just close your eyes for a minute. And you can do that pretty quickly. Just allow that energy to come in, but make it really, really vibrant, and let it be super, charging energy that you let in. And then just sit with that and feel what that's like, and then go with it. Move around if you need to or want to, and just really enjoy that new place, in comparison to where you started if you were, pretty low. So one other thing to think about is this idea of, a lot of people talk about this, like fake it till you make it. Sometimes we do need to, push ourselves into something that's healthy, but that allows us to be a little bit more energetic. So if we do feel tired, if we do feel just, not very motivated, sometimes just picking little tiny things to get the energy flowing. So maybe you're saying, okay, I really do want to get out and hike today, but I'm just not feeling motivated. Okay, well, what could I do just, for now in the next 5 minutes? And maybe it's like, well, okay, there's something in my room I could take care of right now. I'm going to get up and go do that. And so just give yourself the tiniest little task to go in and get your body moving, take care of something, because that's on your agenda or whatever. And then while you're doing that, just pay attention to how your body feels as you're moving, and be aware of your energy, and say, okay, as I'm walking, I'm going to allow energy to come into my body, come into my space, move me, inspire me a little bit. Let me shake this off a little, and push yourself, just a little bit. Again, paying attention. If you're really, really exhausted, you didn't sleep well, you really need to regroup and you need a nap, go for it. But if you're just trying to get, that little bit more motivation, or maybe you're supposed to be meeting with some friends and you're like, well, I could just kind of hang out here, pick a little step. It's like, well, okay, I would need to do this, this, and this. So I have my car keys in my pocket. I remember I left those. I'm just going to get up right now. I'm going to go and I'm going to get the keys. I'm going to come and set them on the table. One little tiny step. And then as you do that, maybe go by and turn on some music that's really energizing, because that's another thing that we can do is, listen to podcasts or inspiring, videos, or, whatever, something with, uplifting stories that just kind of make you feel good. So turn on some music, kind of move around to the music, get yourself moving. And then maybe you say, okay, I'm just going to go change my pants. So I'm going to go in and put on the pants that I would use if I were to go out and hike. And I'm just going to do that. And it doesn't mean that I have to keep going, but I can, change my pants. And then usually once you start making those little steps, you kind of go, okay, I can do this next step. And okay, I can do this next step. And then you kind of like whittle away at those barriers that are kind of holding you back in that comfort zone of just, I can just kind of hang here. So those little baby steps can be really motivating. And then they energize you as you go, especially if you like turn on that music and crank it up a little bit. And then the next thing you know, you're kind of, bopping around. You're like, oh, well, yeah, that feels a little bit better. Okay, maybe I'll turn on the, a little bit more jazzier music and get that going. And they're like, oh yeah, that feels really good. And just be, paying attention to things that can increase that energy without having to go, too far. You don't have to exhaust yourself or push yourself too far. But as we do that sometimes, especially for introverts, this is important because, as I said, when I started, if you're an extrovert and you like just love to throw yourself out there, right, and connect and energize with other people, for introverts, that's not the case, generally speaking. So if we're going to go meet someone, it takes us a little bit more energy maybe to even consider doing that. So being able to just sit back and regroup and say, okay, baby steps, I'm going to do this, I can do this, and then I'm good. So just some things to be thinking of. And then those, as I talked about, the music or the podcast or whatever, something that's really going to fire you up. So, what is your passion or passions? What are some things that, if you had time, you would spend more time searching online about, or you would take a class for, or you would talk with someone about, because it just really fires you up. Find something about that, find an article or a podcast or something that you can listen to for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, and knowing that that is going to energize you because it fires you up, because it's so great for you. It's your passion. So use those things when you are feeling low, you know, in moderation, so that you can boost that energy. And then you can go out into the world and say, okay, I was at like 30%, now I'm like 75%, you know, in my bandwidth. So, okay, now I can do what I need to do the rest of the day. It's all good. So before we wrap up, I would like to take you through, I have just a couple minutes, a breathing exercise, which I've been doing for my morning meditation, just so you can feel the release and the experience in your energy field when you do this. And so wherever you are, just sitting, there's a lot of different breathing techniques. And this isn't one that isn't necessarily my go-to. I usually like the really deep, slow breathing, but this one is just amazing for your energy level. So you're going to breathe in through your nose and out through your nose, not out of your mouth. It's going to be super, super quick and not so much as deep as just fast and powerful. So you will actually hear, so that you probably wouldn't do this at work if people are looking at you and that makes you uncomfortable, unless it's fine. That's great. But on your own, probably, because it is going to make noise. So what you'll do is just breathe really, I'll do it about 30 times. We're going to go in, out, super quick, really forceful. You'll hear yourself breathing. You'll hear me breathing. So we're going to just do that and then see what happens afterwards. So wherever you are, just go ahead and start breathing through your nose. And now just sit. You can open your hands on your, excuse me, on your waist, on your lap. And just notice how you feel now. You might feel kind of tingly or fuzzy. You might just feel that energy already like raising and just have replenished some just by doing that. You might feel a little lightheaded. But if you do that repeatedly, 3 or 4 sets, like we just did, you might be amazed at what your energy feels like just after doing that, because you're just really getting it to flow. You're kind of peaking the endorphins a little bit. You're just like, whew, okay. And then if you do that several times, you get up and you're like, wow, okay, I'm ready to move. So one more technique to throw into your little toolbox and give it a shot. As I said, I usually do the other kind, very slow, methodical, deep breathing. So this is a very different focus for me. Excuse me, but it's been really great. So I always like to give you just lots of tools, things that you can use on your own. There's tons of other ones you can, do a search on breathing techniques or energizing techniques or something. I'm sure you'll find lots of stuff, but these are the things that I really like. And I really appreciate having you here, being able to share with you all of these tools. And next month, we'll be talking about emotions, and we'll be starting right off the bat with a guest who's going to be talking about brain health and our endorphins and our neurotransmitters, how we can really engage, get what we need for our emotions simply by paying attention to what we put into our brains and, various other things. So anyway, that's going to be really exciting to have that guest on our show. And please feel free to always, reach out if you want to connect with me at all. My website link is on the episode notes, and I will look forward to seeing you next week, next month, and focusing on on emotions. Thank you for being with me here, and I will see you next time.